9 podcasts.
Welcome to The Trade-Off, your daily podcast, giving you a big wrap of all this year's AFL Tradio. End of every single day, I'm joined by Essendon legend Matthew Lloyd. Evening, Lloydie.
Evening, Jimmy.
Of course, we're here to Tyre Power. Tyre Power's great race sale. Buy 3 and get 1 free on selected Curnow passenger car and SUV tyres. Day 3 trade wrap. Of course, there was a long-winded 3-way trade, Lloydie. West Coast get Brisbane's Brandon Starcevich, pick 12, 33, 52. Brisbane get pick 16, 22, 44 and 50. Fremantle gets pick 19, 23 and 46. That's a long way of saying the Eagles get Brandon Starcevich. They move up a little bit but protect their compensation, pick, which they end up getting for Oscar Allen, which we'll touch on a little bit later. Brisbane gets some points, of course, in the draft for their academy kid, Dan Annable. And Fremantle gets that middle pick, pick 23, which becomes really important for Judd McVie to head across to Fremantle, and they hand pick 23 to the Ds. Unpacking all of that, I know it's a 3-way deal, but it's essentially a 4-way deal once you throw the Judd McVie bit. Anything catch your eye in that?
What catches my eye, I think, is that I don't see, and sometimes it's all pretty good. I'd say, I think for Brisbane to get early into the draft at 16, I think they've got players that can replace Starcevich. He's been a good player, but Coleman hasn't played for a period of time, and obviously you got the running half backs in Wilmot and obviously Zorko are still playing great footy. I think McVie trade to Fremantle for 23. I think he'd be better than any kid in the draft taken there. So I think that's pretty good. And then West Coast, well, they desperately need. So to have pick 1, pick 2 and get pick 12. And that's pretty good, I think. So I can't really see a loser out of it all.
Yeah, great deal for me, Lloydie, with Fremantle getting McVie. That means he can park on the half-back line, become an attacking half-back flanker. And do you know who doesn't play on the half-back line anymore is Hayden Young. Yeah. So if they get him fit and well, he becomes part of an incredible midfield there when you've got Sarong, Brayshaw and Young. They've all got a point of difference. So that's good business for Freo. Melbourne get another pick. What they do with it, I guess we'll see once Petrarca and Oliver deals get done as well, where they can package some stuff up. Sam Flanders is officially a Saint. We touched on him day 1 as part of the big fishing expedition there the Saints are going on. Well, they've landed another one. Now, the size of the fish will be decided. Is he a tuna? Is he a shark? Or is he a big flathead?
And that's what I don't know what he is, Jimmy. And that's I look forward to seeing just how good he is. So, he's not a starting midfielder, inside midfielder. He was a long way behind, Miller and Rowell and Anderson. So to give away pick 7, that comes with a lot of pressure and the big stage of playing for St Kilda in Melbourne. So. I'm not sure how destructive a player he is, and time will tell.
I think it's good for the Gold Coast Suns. He wasn't on the highest amount of money, but he was getting paid above average. You throw in Fiorini as well, and where the Budrick goes, and discussions around Bailey Humphrey, and then of course Answorth maybe having a look around. A number of those players. It frees up some cap space to look after the ones they've got, but you also got all these academy kids they've got building underneath. Obviously, Rogers is one of them, and Reed, all these academy kids that can fill the void. But you look at their draft hand now, the Gold Coast Suns, 6, 7, 14, 17, 35, and they've got 3 high-end academy kids that they potentially take in the draft. So I think it's very good business for the Suns. They get a little bit of, cap relief, but also get some points as well for some young academy kids coming in.
Scary, those numbers you read out. Again, the Suns, 6, 7, 14, 17. Clubs would kill for that. And with what they've already got there, they are just set to be top 4 contenders for the next 5 years.
Yep, they just have to nail it and keep that development going well up there. Oscar Allen, free agency move from West Coast to Brisbane, has been lodged with the AFL. The Eagles have till Saturday, 4 p.m. to match the offer. The Eagles are set to receive pick 2. I'll tell you what the Eagles are going to do. They're going to help Oscar pack up with the white glove mover. They're going to drive him to the airport. They might hop him on the plane with him, make sure he gets off at Brisbane, then help him unpack there. There is no way they are matching that offer.
And just think of the Suns who we just spoke about, Rowell and Anderson, and what it's transformed their football club. So they're now in a position 1 and 2 and be smart about the way you draft. Obviously most clubs will go, you just pick the best 2 players. Others might say, let's pick 2 kids that know each other really well and are going to be with us for the next 15 years. So that's a number of ways you can look at pick 1 and 2. and it's really exciting for the West Coast because apart from Harley Reid, there's nothing that jumps out at you and says, okay, he's going to be a star All-Australian player for the next 10 or 15 years. So now they get their chance.
Yep, just got to nail those picks. Look, Lloydie, this is 3 clubs and it's all based around one player. And I know Craig McRae today caught your ear, and we're going to talk about Clayton Oliver. He's reportedly nominated GWS. That's not official. Well, I think it is official from a Sydney reporter up there. So he's nominated GWS as his club of choice, which he was weighing up between the Giants and Collingwood, and then, of course, the negotiations with Melbourne. But I know Craig McRae caught your ear today.
Yeah, it doesn't sound like, Jimmy, they haven't got in the door. So here is Craig McRae speaking today about Clayton Oliver.
Clayton? No, there's a process around that. I'm here to promote the racing and as much as we can, and there's people that are doing their jobs, and you said Lapper's doing that. I'm not privy to the conversation that he's having. It has been hard to get hold of Clayton, though, I'll say that. He must be having a good time in Sydney.
So just once I heard that, this was earlier today, I thought, gee, it doesn't sound too promising for Collingwood. That they haven't really spoken to him too much, so they've made a good impression on him. We touched on it a few days ago. Maybe Clayton just decided, I want to get out of Melbourne, and I think the Giants can sell how well it's been for other players who, like Jesse Hogan's been I know Stringer's really enjoyed his year, so it's probably a good move for him.
So the Giants, the reason why I'm highlighting the Giants picks here, because then it'll all be in negotiation of the deal. It's just not as simple as Clayton Oliver just going, hey, I'm going to the Giants, and he gets there, because he's got that significant salary, which makes it very difficult for him to move. Now, the Giants have picked 13, 34, and 36. That comes, we're just assuming, the better pick Melbourne gets will be due to the fact of how much they're willing to pay of Clayton Oliver. So the more they offer to pay, the more they can ask for. The Giants pick 13, because 34 and 36 are essentially the same pick. I know there's a slight difference, but if they want 13, they'll probably have to pay more of Clayton's salary to get that pick 13.
Yeah, you're right, Jimmy, and Melbourne would be disappointed to go, hey, he's a 4-time best and fairest winner. Gary Lyon was saying he'll be the greatest Melbourne player that's played by the end of his career, and we've given him away for 34, and we're paying a lot of his salary, so I don't think that'd go down too well. So, yes, they'll have their eye somewhere in between 13 and 25, you'd think would be right. So whether the Giants can get another pick in somewhere feels about right.
That takes us to our talking point for today. Of course, whenever we mention Hawthorn, we think it's Essendon and Zach Merritt. Are Hawthorn going to make a play for Bailey Humphrey?
Well, it sounds like they've been trying to, Jimmy, and they've spoken to him. So that would make me nervous if I was Zach Merritt. That's why it's a talking point that Zach would want to keep having his manager go, I just want to let you know you're still all in on us. When you hear them talk about, if I got Humphrey, you'd go, okay, do they not? Surely they wouldn't have room for both. So, Essendon people are saying to me, does that mean you reckon they're going to keep Zach because they're talking to Humphrey? So, but what clubs are crazy not to talk to both? You're in trouble if both say they want to come, because then what do you do in that situation? But, it could be a plan B, or is it a plan A?
Yeah, I find the Humphrey thing so intriguing. The fact that Gold Coast couldn't have been any stronger. Yeah. Whenever a microphone's been in front of them, he's not going anywhere. And by all means, go see the sites and have a look at different training setups. But that in itself, the fact that he's been seen, or been caught, papped, if you will, with Melbourne coach Stephen King, and I think Nathan Jones is with him, and then reports he's met with other clubs. So it's got to lie somewhere in between that, hang on, you're not going anywhere unless the deal is right.
Yeah, so guys like Craig Cameron and Matt Rosa and all them, they talk a really strong game right now. But who knows what's going on behind the scenes? They might be feeling that Bailey Humphrey, I'm just trying to, it might not be as professional as they want to be. Or they might feel that Humphrey's not happy, and it might be that they go, let's cut our losses now and let's get when he's worth maximum value now rather than a year's time, or when his contract could be up. So wouldn't surprise me if he ended up in another club.
Yeah, and you never know with Gold Coast. So I know they've got all those picks, but can they shift some stuff into the following year where they might have another lot of talent coming through? So you just don't know what their plans are as well. But just to go over that, you don't think they can get both done, the Hawks, or just it's either, well, if we can't get Zach done, we're definitely getting Bailey, or whatever they get done first?
I reckon, they'd be just hoping. Merritt would be number one. You'd be crazy not to just put yourself in the mix for Humphrey, because I think they do need another midfielder. I know Humphrey would be more a forward, but gee, he'd be good like a Rankin going in and pinch hitting in the midfield.
Still got lots of players up in the air. Christian Petrarca, we still assume that Gold Coast deal will get done, and maybe that pick 7 that they received for Sam Flanders might be part of that. So these picks that are coming in might get used on bigger deals. Jai Simpkin, I want to ask you about. I found this one fascinating. Another club captain saying, hey, I want out, and the reports were, I want to be an inside mid, where he couldn't get in as an inside mid really with North Melbourne. He's on a pretty lucrative contract there at North. He's the captain. Should he just accept the fact that he's going to be playing different roles, or should he push this a bit harder?
Heard absolutely nothing about him since it was reported. So it would have been true, because it's not as if there's been many denials from Simpkin or his management group. But maybe he's got a reality check, Jimmy, that other clubs might see it very much like North Melbourne. Maybe people aren't banging down his door at the money that he's on. So I expect him to be at North Melbourne, and he's got to have a big pre-season and show himself to be better than a Wardlaw or a Sheasel types to get that midfield time he wants.
It's interesting. If the Giants have got money to facilitate half of Clayton Oliver's deal, why aren't they just exploring other options as well? Because you'd think the reason why the Giants haven't gone into the market for a lot of established players is because their cap's tight. But if they're going to find cap space for Clayton Oliver, it just makes you think, why have explored other ideas? So it was just a thought I had today. Charlie Curnow, be incredibly difficult for the Cats to get that deal done unless they're willing to give up something extraordinary that we don't see coming. And that's why I think everyone thinks the Swans are in the box seat. But again, talking into microphones, well, no one's available according to the Sydney Swans. And you do have to, the whole point of trade is actually you have to give something to get something.
Yeah, Sydney currently with 10, 31, 62. So that's
not getting it done.
No, 10's a start, but you'd want to be finding another 2 like that to be any chance.
Buku Kamas, that's got to be a trade for the Dogs to the Blues. Well, the Blues have got to trade for Buku Kamas. That's gone a bit quieter. That probably late in the trade period.
Yeah, I think that 21 would be too high, would you say? So because he couldn't get a game at the Bulldogs. So I think pick 40. Like again, you weigh up what's in the draft, and I think Kamas, would fit quite comfortably. So Carlton desperately need. I'm not sure how good Kamas is because he couldn't get a game there, but I think he's an AFL player, and Carlton could certainly do with him.
Got a nice athletic profile and can go forward, of course. And Connor Budrick, he mightn't seem like the biggest name on the surface, but that's been floated to a lot that he could be part of whatever happens in the Jamara Ugle-Hagan deal. And the Doggies like him as a small back as well because they're trying to stiffen up that back line. Well, it's time for tough calls, thanks to Grunt. No matter what you do with Grunt, there's nothing tougher available exclusively at Bunnings. We're heading into day 4 of the trade period. Who needs to make a tough call? Well, Lloydie, I'm going to kick this off again. I get to take the new ball on this one. You've been doing a lot of heavy lifting. This isn't exactly a trade as such. While we were listening to Craig McRae today, I just found it fascinating that he probably said the stuff that normally stays inside, outside. And it was regarding Craig McRae saying that they'll probably assess whether the Copeland Trophy currently uses the best voting system or if it's time for a change. Right now, 5 coaches vote 0 to 4 for each player per game, so a max of 20 votes. I have no problem with him raising it. And if you've got an issue with the Copeland Trophy, and people probably thought about this for quite some time at Collingwood. So I'm not, sledging him or having a go that maybe the Copeland does need changing. But you probably don't say that out loud less than a week after Darcy Cameron's won the best and fairest. I think the timing was horrible. I think if you're Darcy Cameron, he mightn't care, but he might care because you've got the coach, pretty much coming out, saying, we probably have to change the system. Yeah. It feels like, I didn't get the result I wanted as a coach.
Yeah, I agree, Jimmy. Sometimes you can be too honest, and that is, I would be disappointed if I was Darcy Cameron as well, if the coach says maybe we have to look at the system.
Especially after his contract negotiations got dragged out a bit.
Absolutely, and it just shows that sometimes no player is bigger than the team, so don't make Nick Dacos bigger than the club or the system. I'm sure they've had that system for a long, long period of time, and it wasn't a problem before. Maybe I can view. We have a system at Haileybury where sometimes I think to myself, we can give a score out of 10 for up to 8 players. I sometimes think to myself, geez, that player got an 8 and that player got a 7, but I reckon that player's 8 was far better than the 7. So do we not have our gap big enough?
Yep.
And that's what I think that maybe Craig McRae's getting at with this system here. My tough call, Jimmy, is that Rowan Marshall needs to go hard and have his manager go hard that he must leave St Kilda. I just think to maximise the rest of his career, I keep hearing people out of St Kilda, Rowan Marshall's a good forward. Rowan Marshall's a good forward. Well, I don't think he's a 40-goal forward. He's a top 5 ruckman at his best. Max King back next year. Rowan Marshall trying to work in with that and De Koning. So I just think he's not the number 1 forward. He won't be the number 1 ruckman.
Yep.
Head down the highway and you are the man.
Yeah, he'll be the number 1 ruck there, clearly.
So I just think he's got to put himself first there and get out as best he can, but he is contracted.
That was a good, tough call and a good way to end the show. Join us tomorrow for a full wrap and insight into day 4 of the 2025 trade period. Again, that's all thanks to Tyre Power's great race sale. Buy 3 and get 1 free on a selected Curnow passenger car and SUV tyres.